I see some people are starting to join, so we'll just give everybody 1 or 2 minutes to get started. And as a reminder, this webinar is going to be recorded. So if you have to jump off or you can't watch the whole thing or you want to go back, it will be available in our YouTube channel, and we'll send it out via email so you can watch it later. Also, if you have any questions, there is a Q&A section, which I ask you to use for either myself or Sage from Minoan. And then at the end, we will have plenty of time to go over all the questions that you have. So just you can add them there as we go along, and then we will get to them at the end to answer. So without further ado, I will share my screen and we can get started. Can you see that on your end, Sage?
Looks good to me. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, so today's topic is turning a cost center into a profit center, leveraging native retail to go above and beyond, as well as savings on furnishing. And so I'm joined by Sage from Minoan. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Sage, that would be great.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited for the presentation. I'm Sage. I'm the partnerships manager at Minoan, and I've been a fan of StayFi and Arthur, what you guys have been doing for a long time. Anytime someone new joins Minoan, I go through kind of like a list of key companies in the industry they should be aware of. And I always mention you guys. And I'm like, how did I not think of this? I mean, I also didn't think of Minoan, but I think what you guys are doing is genius and certainly needed in the industry. So everyone who's tuned in, pay attention, because there's going to be some good stuff coming from the StayFi side and the Minoan side.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, my name's Arthur Kolker, and I'm the founder of StayFi. And so I will go ahead and kick this off. Sage and I will be trading back and forth as we go through the presentation. So just a little bit background on StayFi. Our mission as a business is to help every short-term rental establish a more independent and profitable brand. And the way that we do that is we help you collect valuable guest information, not just from the booker, but everybody in your short-term rental in a way that's very similar to what you would have encountered at a coffee shop or hotel or airport. Essentially, every time a guest joins the Wi-Fi in a short-term rental that uses StayFi, they get presented with a captive portal or a splash page like you see here on the left, where they enter in their information. And that way we'll collect this data from every single person that stays with you. And then we have all the tools within StayFi to then remarket to those guests. And that way, over time, you can build an audience of loyal guests that love your properties and want to stay with you. And so they start booking with you directly and not through the OTAs. So over time, customers with StayFi may start with 5 to 10% of their bookings direct, but after using us for a year or two, they're at 30, 40, 50% book direct. And so that's really our mission, is to help you just become less dependent on those third-party channels and build your own independent, more profitable brand. And then Sage, do you want to give a little background on Minoan here?
Yeah, of course. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Minoan, we're a completely free platform to help hosts, designers, property managers, co-hosts, anyone in the short-term rental or vacation rental space furnish their properties more easily. So there's two parts of our business. The first is what I just mentioned, which is the furnishing side of our business, where we offer you guys steep discounts on over 150 brands like Wayfair, Crate and Barrel, Pottery Barn, Article, so on and so forth, and created a really easy tech solution, which is the platform that we've created to help you guys manage all of your orders in one place. What we realized in getting started in this industry is the best system that people had for furnishing and keeping track of orders and reordering was Excel spreadsheets. And so we wanted to create a more enhanced tech solution to make that a lot easier, especially as you guys scale from, one property, five to 10, so on and so forth. The other side of our business, which is really going to come into play this year in particular, and also on this presentation, is that we can help make your properties shoppable. So if you guys have ever had a guest stay at your property and they love the mattress or they love the coffee maker or even the coffee, insert any product that you guys have in your space. We create a custom tailored experience for you guys to share with your guests to where they can purchase the products that they've actually experienced and used during their stay. And you as the host or owner of the property can earn a commission on anything that sells. So it's really helping turn furnishing, which has historically been seen as a cost center, into a revenue generating asset.
Awesome. And that's amazing. And I think one of the big focuses for StayFi this year is all about incremental revenue beyond the booking revenue. So this fits really well into some of the stuff that we're creating and launching now. And so in this presentation, we're going to go over some really cool intersections where StayFi can amplify your ability to sell these goods through Minoan. Yeah, Sage, you want to talk about give a little, I don't know if you have some talking points for this particular slide,
Yeah,
but
of
this, I guess,
course.
gives us a view of what the platform looks like.
Yes, exactly. So I have this slide and one, I guess, two other slides that I'll walk through really quickly. So what I was saying, this, yes, correct, Arthur. These are a few different screenshots of the furnishing platform that we've built. So I just wanted to kind of show you guys visually what it looks like. The one in the middle is our homepage where you see all of the different brands that we work with. Again, as I mentioned, we work with over 150 partners, any brands that carry things like furniture, linens, mattresses, soaps and shampoos, basically anything you need for your property, you can get through Minoan for the most part. We built a really easy like Google Chrome extension to help you guys, pull in products to Minoan. There's a lot of functionality in there, so I won't bore you to death with that, but wanted to at least give you a visual taste of what that looks like. And the reason I put this slide together is because the reality is, a lot of people get super excited about, oh, I want to make money on guest sales in my property. That's so great. But before you can do that, you need to think about the stuff that's actually going into your property. And most likely you need to think more about it than you would if that's not something that interests you. Because the truth is, this is where it starts. It starts with the items that you are buying and putting in your property. It starts with the mattress that you decide to use. It starts with the linens that you're picking out for the property. All of those decisions that you're making, while I know that there are a lot of decisions to make getting a short-term rental like up and running, these are the ones that matter the most. And it all starts here. You can go to the next slide, Arthur. So the previous slide was really focusing on the furnishing side of our business, right? Which is the first step before you can even use StayFi, before your property can be listed on the OTAs, your property has to be furnished. So let's start there. But it doesn't end with the property being furnished. It actually continues with this other side of our business where we can make property shoppable. Now that you've already spent however many thousands of dollars on all the furnishings, amenities, decorations, etc. for the property, now let's light that space up. The big idea behind Minoan in this native retail concept is that the best product experiences happen when people can actually use products in natural environments for exactly what they're designed to be used for. What does that mean if I like boil it down a little bit more? It's actually sleeping on the mattress in a short-term rental versus going to a mattress firm, laying on a mattress when you're in your work clothes and you have a salesperson over your shoulder. It's a totally different experience when you are in a space like this short-term rental and you're able to use the coffee maker, sit on the lounge chair, so on and so forth, and get this hands-on experience. So yes, it starts with all the stuff that you're buying and putting into your property, but instead of thinking of it as, oh, this is just another expense to add to, my pro forma, it's actually an opportunity for you to recoup some of that investment if you do it the right way. I imagine a lot of you guys are already getting people asking, oh, I love this, I love that, where'd you get it? But if you're not getting those questions and comments from guests, it may be a signal for you to go back to the start and kind of reevaluate. Are there items that you can upgrade? Are there changes that you can make to the property? And really focus on creating a unique experience for your guests, because that's exactly what this is doing. I mean, we believe that short-term rentals are four-walled influencers. You guys as hosts are creating really meaningful moments, and we want you guys to be able to capitalize on those. But before you get here, you need to be really thoughtful about the stuff that you're putting into your property. So on the next slide, I kind of wanted to give you guys an example of how the economics work out. I know the slide's not pretty, but I promise the concept will make sense. The days of like shot glasses and the Fort Lauderdale t-shirts and the hats that you get from those tchotchke shops, they're not really as prominent as they were, several years ago. What people want to take home from their experience in their vacation is like a memento from their stay, something that reminds them about the incredible trip they took with their family to Portland, or the time that they were able to do a romantic getaway with their partner in upstate New York. And this native retail experience is the exact opportunity to do something like that. So instead of the shot glasses and the t-shirts, what if they could take home the soap and shampoo that they loved from your property, or the mattress that gave them the best night's sleep ever, better than their own home? That's what we want to create at Minoan, and really light up all of those experiences and enable you guys to do this more easily. So to kind of give you guys an example of how the economics work out, I have this beautiful example below. So let's say that you buy a mattress through Minoan. Your cost through Minoan is $400. The guest pays full price for that product. So they sleep on the mattress, they love it, they buy it. They would pay $800, just using an average MSRP for a mattress. That profit is $400. The way that the profit share works is it's 50-50. So we would get $200 and you as the host would get $200. If you think about that, again, you only paid $400 for that mattress. So in 2 guest sales, that mattress has now paid for itself, and every single incremental sale that you make is profit going to your bottom line. It's no longer a cost center. You have turned that item into a profit center. And I have some examples later in the presentation about a few like case studies that we've done, but I just wanted to start and stop for now, at least here, and give you guys an example of how those economics would work. Of course, a mattress is a sexy example because it's a high retail item, but the reality is you guys have to buy this stuff anyway. So why not give yourself an opportunity to make money on it?
This question
I
has
think
come
that's
up,
it
so I
for me,
guess I'll,
Arthur.
I'll ask it. I'll ask it now. Kind of what geographies do you guys operate in? I would assume if the retailer ships to the location, you can service them, but you let us know.
Yeah, good question. We right now are only able to ship in the continental, like lower 48 states. Unfortunately, that does not include Hawaii or Alaska. We have some logistics, to your point, Arthur, like we work with our brand partners on drop shipping everything. So we have no warehouses on the Minoan side. So there are just, not all of our brand partners ship to Hawaii and Alaska. There are some certainly, but we haven't yet in Minoan been able to find the right way to merchandise that and say, hey, only these brands are able to ship to Hawaii, only these brands are able to ship to X, Y, and Z. So for now, just for simplicity's sake, unfortunately, we are only able to ship and partner with folks in the lower 48, but we do hope that that can change sometime in the near future. Thanks for asking that question.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, now just to flip over to StayFi, just to kind of introduce what we do if you're not familiar. And then we'll talk about some very cool kind of nexus of both products where we can really help you increase the percentage of guests that see your Minoan products and make a purchase. So kind of like what I mentioned before, the core of StayFi all starts with collecting and centralizing all guest data. And we do this a few ways. The one I talked about before is definitely the first and most important one, which is we'll collect data from every guest when they log into the Wi-Fi. So we're not just getting the booker's information, but 8, 10, 15 individuals in a property. We also have the ability to pull in any real guest data stored in your property management software. So when you connect a PMS like OwnerRes, Hospitable, Streamline, Guesty, etc., to StayFi, you have the option to import all your guest data that's real, so like real emails, not the proxy emails, from there into StayFi as well. And so we're combining everything into one basically CRM for you. And that will also happen for future data that comes into your PMS from any booking. And then you can also collect data through StayFi on your website with pop-ups and other places like that. So all the data, whether from Wi-Fi, PMS, your website, is all coming into one central database. And then, of course, you're going to want to market against that data. So within StayFi, we have email and text marketing that's built for short-term rentals. So unlike using a tool like MailChimp, where it's generic for any industry, our tools are obviously built for this industry in mind. So we have templates and advice that's really catered to your needs. And then finally, separate from marketing, we also have some Wi-Fi monitoring solutions. So we can tell you if the Wi-Fi is out. We also do occupancy monitoring. So there's some other very cool benefits to having a cloud-based Wi-Fi solution. And at the end of the day, we're going to help you market your own brand and over time build up that list of loyal guests who want to come back and stay with you again and again. The way StayFi looks visually, and this is where we start to connect into what you can do with Minoan, is when someone joins the Wi-Fi in your property, they'll select the guest network, which you see here on the left. When they do that, this page or splash page with your branding that can be home specific will load automatically. A guest enters their information there. They only do this one time per device per stay. Then if they log in, they get taken to this second page called the home page. And this is where some cool possibilities really get to start. On this page, you can have a unique set of links for each property, things like a guidebook, a link to book again. And then we have upsell partners, a few different ones that you can add within StayFi, like the host co, which is basically a way to sell like tours and activities, as well as Viator, where you get a commission off of those. And then, of course, you can also add a link to your Minoan storefront. And that way, that shoppable stays link is persistent in front of all guests. And then, of course, through our texting and email tools, you can automatically send marketing to guests after they log into the Wi-Fi through an automation, which we'll talk a little bit more about later. And basically, this gives you multiple channels by which you can start marketing, not just book direct and not just your guidebook, but also these shoppable links, things like Minoan, that will obviously increase the number of guests who see the store, and obviously will therefore go on and convert and perhaps purchase some of these products where you can earn some incremental revenue. This is a little more detail on that homepage product. So essentially what we're doing with this tool within StayFi is creating something like a link tree. So if you've ever come across a link tree before, it's like a standalone web page with a bunch of links on it. Within StayFi, you create these pages for each of your properties, and they're unique for each one with a unique set of links. And this page is shareable not just within the StayFi Wi-Fi experience, but outside of it as well. So when you sign up for the homepage, you can add Hostco and Viator for free. Like I mentioned before, the Hostco lets you sell your own goods and services, things like mid-stay cleans, late checkout, early check-in, pool heating, goods like firewood, as well as they have a bunch of local partners where earn commissions, axe throwing, whitewater rafting, whatever it is. And then Viator is very similar, where you can earn commissions off tours and activities. You can add those guest resource buttons, things like booking again or your guidebook, and then of course custom buttons. And that's where you would add a button to your Minoan storefront. So therefore, you can share this homepage, during the stay when they log into Wi-Fi, and people have access to that those different upselling opportunities during the course of their stay. This is pretty much the same, so I'll skip this slide. And then, yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the marketing automation. So within StayFi, within email and text, we have automated campaigns. And so what that means is you can set up a message or email that gets sent to every guest after they log into the Wi-Fi. And this is where really we're promoting the homepage or your Minoan storefront can come into play. So with the email campaign, what's very cool within StayFi is when you set up one of these automated emails, there's a bunch of custom fields that you can insert into the email. Basically, that means you can create one template that covers all properties. So you can create an email very simply that says something like, hey, first name, welcome to property name. Here's a link to all the resources you need for this property, and it will insert the link to the homepage for that property. And then they click on that, and they will have all the links to that I just showed you before, whether that's a Hostco tour, Minoan, your guidebook, your book direct website, etc. And of course, you can emphasize the benefits of booking direct with you and why that's cheaper than going through an OTA. And you can do the same thing with text messaging so that you are sending that link with all your resources to the guest right when they log into the Wi-Fi. And that really gives you the ability to market outside of the booker. Because what we see tends to happen is people send a lot of information through the PMS to the booker prior to the stay, which is important. But often they don't share that information with other guests. So other guests may not know about the Minoan store or your Hostco offering or ever see your guidebook or know about your website, right? And this really opens up your ability to start sharing that information with the entire group of guests staying with you, and not just the booker who you don't want to depend on to solely share that information with everybody there. Now just moving ahead, I'll just talk about a few case studies with StayFi, kind of like what is people have seen over time when they use our product. And we work with vacation rental operators of all sizes, whether you're like operating a single home and you own that property. We have many customers that are like that who have gone from 10 to 20 to 30% book direct. And then we have other customers that operate over 200 properties and have had a similar growth in their direct booking. So as an example, Cozy Vacation Rentals had no direct bookings essentially when they started with us, and now over 30% of their bookings come directly. On the flip side is someone like Cottage Stays, which is around 20 properties in Ontario. He was already at 70% book direct with mostly repeat guests. And now with StayFi, they're actually 100% book direct during their high season. So no matter where you are in your book direct journey, we can start helping you develop that loyal audience and grow that channel over time so you're less dependent on the whims of the OTAs, which of course could, change anything at any time. Now, Sage, I know we have some case studies that you want to talk about here.
Yeah, I definitely will. Thank you. And before I even start on these case studies, I want to go back to what Arthur was saying on one of his previous slides about the importance of text messaging and using a tool like StayFi to, whether it's your Minoan storefront or some other offerings that you want to share with your guests. The two examples that I shared on the bottom half of the slide with the customer, I should have said guest sales from these shoppable experiences. These don't just happen overnight, and they don't happen if your guests can't see the experience. So I just wanted to reiterate what Arthur was saying, because StayFi is an incredible tool to market other offerings that you have or other information that you want your guests to receive simply by logging into the Wi-Fi, which I'm sure almost every single guest wants to do and will do throughout their stay. So leveraging a tool like StayFi to be able to, our mantra at Minoan is we want these experiences to be present but not overwhelming. So people don't walk in and there's not price tags on every single item. That's not how we do things. But being able to subtly, before their stay, hey, first name, thanks so much for booking, super excited to have you. If you wanted to get a sneak peek of what's waiting for you, you can see everything here. There are all sorts of different unique things that you can leverage StayFi with Minoan. I just think what, Arthur and the team have built is incredible. And there are a lot of, synergies, for a lack of a better word, between the two. So I wanted to give just a couple quick examples on and case studies from two different sides of our business. So on the top, we have customers who have used us on the furnishing side. So you can see Unwind, which is a property management group. They operate over 25 properties in the South. They've saved close to $200,000, $177,000 to date in less than 6 months. And they're buying all the stuff for their properties. This means the furniture, the linens, the decorations, the lighting, everything. I mean, that's a lot of money to save in less than 6 months. So that was really exciting to see. Two other examples to the right, just between the two, over $100,000 saved, or close to $100,000 saved on furnishings, everything they need for their property. And then on the bottom half, again, this should be reading guest sales. But we have one example, Hotel Vermont, a boutique hotel in Burlington, has done $30,000 in guest sales in less than 18 months. And the Cat Noir, which is a hotel that we work with in Austin, they're super small, boutique, 5 to 10 rooms. I think Hotel Vermont has slightly more than that, so they're seeing more guests. But just a couple examples of the revenue that can happen. And the best items that we see sell are the ones that I included on one of my earlier slides, which are the mattresses, the linens, the soaps and shampoos, those high touch, high use items in the stay or during their stay. So I just kind of wanted to contextualize and show you guys some real savings and real revenue that's been generated from some of our customers.
And one of my questions is all of the items that you can purchase through Minoan also shoppable, or is it a subset that are also shoppable by guests?
It can be everything. You would be so
Okay.
surprised. Anything that you purchase through Minoan can be made shoppable. You would be surprised the things that we've seen sell. There is a property that we work with in upstate New York that has this piece of driftwood that is from West Elm that's sold 6 units, just a decorative piece that's underneath the nightstand. People have bought hanging hooks that are, you would use to hang your coat or your purse. It is wild. So when people come to us and I don't think I have enough items to make my property shoppable, it's almost always incorrect. People just aren't thinking of some of those smaller things that may inspire or catch one of your guests' eye. So yes, Arthur, you can do anything through Minoan. If people don't want to like sell the toilet paper or whatever, of course you don't have to. That's totally up to them. But anything purchased through Minoan can be made shoppable.
I'm just curious in like the life cycle of the guest, putting StayFi aside and marketing your Minoan store there, are people typically purchasing during, after, and then, what are the best ways to share the Minoan storefront with guests?
Great question. In terms of the journey, I'd have to look into specifics. So I'm going to go with like from what I've seen, but I take this with a grain of salt because I don't have that specific data in front of me. I would imagine that most of them are during the stay or after. I don't think that we've seen a ton of pre-sales before people get to the property, which would make sense because the big idea is that people are using the products during their stay. So there's less buyer's remorse. You're like, I know exactly how this product is going to function. I know how it's going to feel. I know how it's going to look. So typically during or after. And your second question was like, how are people, what's the best way to communicate this? I mean, certainly with the capabilities that you guys have, that's actually what we recommend. Just when we were first starting, I don't think we knew about StayFi 3+ years ago. So what we typically recommend is like a variety of different touch points. Let's see if I can grab this really quickly. So we would recommend something physical like this. Sorry, my blur is kind of on and off, but something like this, which would be in the property, maybe sitting on like a nightstand or in the living room. Again, like 1, maybe 2, depending on the size of the property. Super soft messaging. Found something you like, which has a QR code that takes them to that store. Again, there's no QR codes or price tags on anything in the property. But then really where we see like the most success, pre-emails, post-emails, text during the stay, all the functionality that you guys have, even what you were talking about of ways that you can retarget your guests of, hey, this is the 1-year anniversary of your stay at X property. Remember some of the things that you loved, here you go. Or during the holidays, there are all sorts of things that hosts are probably already doing where they're trying to communicate with guests, but they're not leveraging those same channels and opportunities to promote something like a Minoan shoppable experience. So there's all sorts of different ways, even on Instagram, for the folks who are really active there, having some sort of link. I know, you mentioned Linktree. Some folks do that on their Instagram page, but I think the functionality that you guys have built truly is like a one-stop shop, as cliche as that sounds, for promoting something like this.
And someone asked this question that I also was going to ask, so I'll ask it now. Let's say you have, I know a lot of these brands are very common. So let's say I already have the mattress or the West Elm log piece or whatever it is. If I have it in my listing, that's enough for me to use Minoan to list it. I don't have to have purchased it from you guys originally.
Good question. So yes and no, because it's still a little bit manual on our side to actually set these up. That's a huge focus of ours for 2024 is making this self-serve for you guys. So people with, 10 items in their property, they can start making it shoppable. Because it's still manual on our end right now, we have this requirement that they have to have purchased at least 15 items through Minoan. Again, that can be like 2 soaps, 2 shampoos, and it adds up really quickly, just so that we can kick off the process. That being said, once that process is kicked off and you hit that threshold, no matter what you have in your property, if it was purchased before you use Minoan, but it is one of our brand partners and the product still exists online, we can still make it shoppable. So you don't have to, it's okay if there were items purchased before you found us, but in the short term, until we make this more self-serve, you have to hit that 15 item threshold for us to kick off the process.
Okay, that makes sense. Wait, how did I skip this slide? There was one I definitely, oh, here it is. I wanted to show this example because we launched this homepage feature rather recently, and I wanted to bring this to life. So this is the page, like I mentioned before, when a guest joins the Wi-Fi, they enter their information, they get taken here. And this is also a page you can easily share with our text and email tool, where the correct link based on the property will be dynamically sent to the guest. That's really important, especially as you scale, right? You don't want to be coming up with 30 different welcome emails for 30 different properties. The ability to fill in dynamic links makes it very scalable. So you can make each email look like it was written for each property, but you only have one template that's driving all of them. So you can see here, they have a guidebook, a book again link, And then they inserted a custom button to browse the furnishings, which would be Minoan. And you can customize that text. So if you have consumables and furnishings, right, you can make sure that it matches what's in your Minoan store. Our other properties, so that's a link to their general website. Will book again, will go to the specific home that they're in, which is the tiny triangle. And then finally, this person also has a Hostco store. And the Hostco store is really more for those local services. So things like uh, yoga class, in-home massage, chefs. And they have a ton of different vendors in different areas, flower, food delivery. And then you get a rev share. And then you can also sell your own products like or more like services, things like late checkout, early check-in. And so that's the Hostco store I see a lot sharing prior to arrival. Since a lot of those things like early check-in, obviously you can sell the late checkout here, but early check-in you need to sell before they arrive. So sometimes people will send this homepage in advance through the PMS messaging, or maybe even the link directly to the Hostco store. While Sage said things like in that you would get from Minoan are more things in the property. So that would be great messaging to incorporate during and after the stay, where it's like, did you love any of the things in the home? Like, here's where you can find them all. I guess one other thing I was curious about, Sage, is in your roadmap, or do any of your brands like, is there any like additional incentive for guests to buy stuff through the Minoan storefront as opposed to like going directly to the retailer, or like any special offers from any brands when they purchase through Minoan?
It's a great question. We've tested this like this much recently, or not recently, historically, but it's something that, my background and Mark, our founder's background, are in retail. So we understand like the different levers that help increase conversion, whether it's price, whether it's, reviews. There are all sorts of different levers in retail to increase conversion. And Arthur, I'm sure you know a lot about this from like the marketing side of things as well. So have we tested this a lot thus far? No. But what we have explored a couple of times is like a discount code, some sort of urgency driver of like, hey, if you, found something you like, here's a $10 off, whatever the amount is, $20 off if you buy within the next week. Some sort of scarcity tactic, or using different powers of influence to help increase conversion. Price, of course, is the number one and typically like easiest lever to pull. And so we have certainly talked about when we, revamp the shoppable sites, make it self-service, finding different ways, whether it's around the holiday time, or if we're working with a specific brand partner and they want to like really try and drive B2C or customer guest sales, working with them also to find, hey, let's do a $50 coupon and we'll split it 50-50 between, us and them or something like that. So it's not something that we actively do with every single shoppable customer, but we definitely do it. Or we have definitely talked about and will continue to explore things like this in 2024 as this becomes like a huge, huge priority internally.
Awesome. So I think we can switch over to if anyone has any more questions, and I see a few here. So I think this one is for you, Sage, but it's, can I have an ongoing Airbnb while on the program? Which I would assume the answer is it doesn't really matter, but it sounds like there is some minimum amount of things you have to buy from Minoan to set up a storefront. And I guess
Correct.
can you talk a little bit more about like uh what are like the most common consumable items, which would obviously be easier to buy 15 of those as opposed to 15 mattresses, right? So
Yes, of course. Yes. So important to note that the shoppable experience option in Minoan is totally optional. So there's no requirement that if you sign up for Minoan, again, which is completely free, that you have to make your property shoppable. It's something a lot of our members are really, really excited about, but it's certainly not something that we force upon you. It's totally an opt-in situation. That being said, yes, if you have an existing property that you own, manage, etc., co-host for, you should and can certainly sign up for Minoan, even if the property is already furnished, because there's always going to be something that needs to be replaced. And that's the perfect opportunity to leverage Minoan on the upfront, upstream part of our business, which is the furnishing side. So again, there's the two sides of our business that tie in together, but you can use them. You unfortunately right now can't make your property shoppable without having at least purchase something from Minoan, but you can use the furnishing side of our business without using the shoppable side. And to your question about like the consumables, I mean, we're talking like soap, shampoo, dishwashing detergent, all of those little items that go into your kitchen, you could buy, like a can opener. There are all sorts of really low cost items that you need for your property. You could buy like a $60 tea kettle from Fellow or something like that to add to your property. You'd be surprised. 15 items adds up really quickly. If you need new linens, that's always a quick one. 3 sets per bed. You need pillows, pillowcases, all of that stuff. You'd be surprised how quickly it adds up.
The next question is, this is more for me. I have a Hostfully and considering doing the Hostfully guidebook. Does this work with StayFi's guestbook? Is it both or redundant? So like I said before, I'll go back to it here. Our homepage is I would not classify it as a guidebook per se. So it's really a place to put all the relevant links for your listing, whether they're shoppable links like Minoan, other upsell partners like Viator or the Hostco, a link to your website, and then of course a link to a guidebook. The guidebooks we support, it can be any link. So whether you use Hostfully, TouchStay, Folio, we also support PDF guidebooks. So if you don't want to spend additional money to get a digital guidebook, and use one of those tools, you can also just upload a PDF if you already have one or you want to create one. And that's a great place to get started with having all the relevant information for the property. And you can upload that PDF, and that way that guidebook will now be much easier for guests to access, which is really the goal of this whole homepage product. Is we see so many customers invest in a digital guidebook, or they launch a Minoan store, or they have a different upsell partner. But the problem is, how do I distribute it to all the guests? So that's what we really are solving here, where because we have this amazing touch point with the Wi-Fi, where we will engage with not just the booker, but every person, then now we have a really great way to take those links and things you've invested time in generating and make sure that they're getting in front of every single guest that stays with you. Yes, this last question here, I think we already answered, which was if I have a co-hosting deal with an owner who's already furnished the units and the pieces weren't originally through Manoa, and can you make the property shoppable? You said yes, as long as you purchased 15 items, which can be consumable items. I guess, do you want to just talk a little bit about kind of like how Minoan works for like a property manager versus an owner
Yeah,
operator? Like, does it matter? And kind of like how does the service scale with time?
that's a great question. So in terms of how Minoan works, it's the exact same regardless of if iSage own 2 properties in upstate New York, or if iSage own a property management company that manages on behalf of owners. We work with all different shapes and sizes, just like Arthur and the StayFi team. The way that you would use Minoan, functionality wise, may be slightly different. So if I'm a property manager or co-host, working with owners on their properties, I could create an account and invite the owners to be a member on my account so that they have access to Minoan. And if you want visibility on what they're doing in Minoan, meaning what they're purchasing, when the last time they purchased it was, specifically for these larger property managers, they want to know when the last time the homeowners updated their linens, when's the last time that they, ordered more consumables. So all of that you can do in Minoan, and you can structure your account differently in the account settings tab or area within the platform. You can invite different people, give them specific access. So maybe you only want, if I own a property management company and I'm managing on behalf of 30 different owners, I don't want Arthur to be able to see Taylor's property. But I, as the property manager, want to see both Arthur and Taylor. So there's a lot of different ways you can structure your account within Minoan, but the way that you use it, the discounts that you get, all of that is all the same. It's really just a matter of, do you want your owners to be involved? Same thing with designers. We work with a lot of designers in Minoan in the short-term rental space, and you can invite them to your account as well so that you guys can collaborate in there. It's more so to help like with visibility so that all these things don't have to be communicated over email or get lost in translation. You have like one source of truth for all the things that you're ordering.
And there was one more question that came in for me, so I'll go ahead and answer that now, which was, how can you add a custom merchant to your StayFi Hostco store? So just a little background, when you create your homepage, so that page with all your links within StayFi, you can sign up for the Hostco in that process. But the Hostco is another business, right? So we don't control their stores. It will create a Hostco account for you automatically, and will create a Hostco store for each one of your properties. And within that Hostco store, it will come already loaded with all of their local merchant experience partners, as well as a few goods and services that you can sell, things like late checkout, early check-in, which then you can turn off, customize, change the price, change the window, and all those things, right? And then you can add your own goods and services. Now, when it comes to adding custom merchants, you can also do that. You just need to contact the Hostco support through the email. I cannot remember off the top of my head, but it's right in your Hostco account. There's a little help button in the bottom right. They can help you onboard third-party vendors. Like, let's say you love this, rock climbing company in your town, and they aren't on the Hostco already. As long as they agree to, the Hostco can onboard them onto the platform, and then that way people can purchase those experiences through your Hostco store, and you'll get commission on that revenue as long as the merchant agrees, right? So that's the key part there. So you can, of course, do that with the Hostco, and you can contact them, and they can help you with that. Sweet. That brings us, I believe, to the end of the presentation here. We have two promo codes, one from StayFi and one from Minoan. I'll talk about the StayFi one, and then Sage can cover the Minoan one here. So StayFi is a self-service platform, meaning that to use our product, there are no contracts, minimums. You don't need to speak to us, but of course you can if you want to. You can go to stayfi.com/demo. When you sign up for a StayFi account, if you use the promo code Minoan, you'll get 50% off the first 3 months of our service. So that's the Wi-Fi marketing, the email marketing, text marketing, all of that will be discounted for the first 3 months. And then Sage, do you want to talk about how this offer works here?
Yep. So super simple. If you guys are not already a Minoan member and you want to get started, again, it's completely free. There's literally zero cost. There's no monthly membership. There's no cost to join, anything like that. And you don't have an account already, you can go to minoanexperience.com/stayfi, submit your application, and you'll get $25 off your first order. So pretty simple, quick application process, should take less than 2 minutes. Once your account is approved, that credit will be automatically dropped into your account.
There was one more question that came in, so I'll answer it while they have me here, which is, do most people send out a link for their StayFi homepage upon a confirmed reservation? I'd say many do. I think the key thing there is if you're sending a link to like your guidebook, make sure your guidebook, it might have, if the guidebook contains information on like how to access the property and you don't want to share that, or you want to have it gated to a certain number of hours in advance, that's where you just want to be careful. So as long as everything in your homepage you're comfortable with somebody seeing prior to arrival, or maybe they cancel, right? And now they have it, right? Just to make sure there's nothing sensitive in there that you want to gate to just people that are in the property or like about to arrive in the near future. And if that's the case, then totally, because in that homepage, you may want them to go to the Hostco store to purchase things like early check-in. And if you're a little nervous about sending the homepage, if it has the guidebook and all that info, you could, of course, if you use the Hostco and you're really more emphasizing selling like early check-in or other pre-stay services, you can always just send the link directly to the Hostco store, which you can find in your Hostco account. Sweet. Yeah, that wraps up today and all the questions. Anything else you want to add, Sage, before we end the webinar?
No, I just want to say thanks again for having me. I think, again, what you guys are doing is great. And it was fun to do a presentation like this to show how the two tools and companies in the industry can come together. So I had a lot of fun. Thanks for all the great questions, everyone who was on the call. And Arthur, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and definitely everyone go check it out Minoan. It sounds like since it's free to use, there's no reason why you wouldn't want to go log in, see what's available, create an account. Because there may be things you're purchasing already that now you can just purchase through them and save on them, as well as, of course, start selling them to your guests, which is an awesome way to make additional revenue. Yeah, so thanks everybody. And like I mentioned before, this will be posted to the StayFi YouTube channel, and the video will be sent out to everyone who is on our newsletter list and attended this webinar. So if there's anything you want to cover or go back and watch again, it will be available for you.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Thanks, Arthur.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks,
Yeah, have a
guys.
good rest of your week, everyone.
All right, see ya.